The bus hissed to a stop under the flickering street lamp of Elmwood's only depot, and Alex Harlan stepped off into the humid Alabama night, his duffel bag slung over one shoulder like an anchor, dragging him back to a life he'd barely survived. He scanned the empty platform, heart pounding from the 12-hour ride that had blurred Georgia pines into a green smear, expecting at least a familiar face, his mom, maybe, or Old Man Jenkins from the garage, but all he saw was the war memorial glinting in the moonlight across the street. There, etched in cold granite among the names of boys who'd never come home from Iraq or Nam or the endless sands he'd just escaped, was his own, Alexander Harlan, PVE, 2007 to 2024, loved and lost. He froze, breath catching like shrapnel in his throat, the world tilting as if the IED that had nearly ended him overseas had finally detonated here, in the town that raised him. 28 years old, alive enough to feel the ache in his rebuilt knee and the phantom itch of bandages long gone. But according to Elmwood, he was a ghost. A mistake. Had to be. Some clerk's fat-fingered fuck-up on a database, right? But as he stumbled closer, fingers tracing the carved letters that matched the dog tags still warm against his chest, a deeper chill settled. This wasn't just error. It was erasure, the kind that started with whispers in barracks about who you really were, the boy who loved wrong in a world that shipped you off to die for loving it all. Alex yanked out his phone, thumb hovering over Mom's number, but the screen's glow caught the shadow of a figure lingering by the memorial's base, a woman in a faded sundress, her back to him, laying a single wildflower at the foot of his slab. Jamie. His Jamie, the one who'd promised forever and stolen kisses behind the bleachers, the one whose letters had kept him sane through the dust and the doubt. She turned, slow as a dream unraveling, and her eyes, those hazel eyes that once lit up like fireflies, widened not in joy, but in the hollow terror of seeing the dead walk. Jamie's scream sliced the night like a bayonet, sharp and involuntary, echoing off the clapboard storefronts that lined Elmwood's main drag. She dropped the flower, petals scattering like blood on the cracked sidewalk, and staggered back against the memorial, her hand clutching at her chest as if to hold her heart from leaping out. Alex raised his palms, the universal sign of don't shoot, his voice cracking on the first syllable of her name. Jamie, it's me. God, it's really me. But she wasn't hearing him. Her gaze darted from his face to the stone and back, lips moving in silent prayer or curse, the color draining from her sun-kissed cheeks until she looked as spectral as the name above her. He took a step forward, gravel crunching under his boots, and she bolted, straight into the shadows of the alley beside the old diner, her sandals slapping pavement like frantic heartbeats. Alex cursed under his breath, dropping his bag and giving chase, the familiar burn in his leg a reminder that heroes in movies didn't limp after their miracles. The alley dumped them into the overgrown lot behind the high school football field, where they'd carved their initials into the goalpost senior year, a pact sealed with spit and teenage bravado. She stopped there, back against the chain-link fence, chest heaving, tears carving tracks through the dust on her face. You're not real, she whispered, voice raw as exposed wire. I buried you. We all did. Alex halted 10 feet away, the distance feeling like an ocean. Buried what? A flag in a box of sand? Jamie, I got hit. Shrapnel. Bad. But the docs patched me up in Germany. I wrote, called. Hell, I even sent that stupid postcard with the Eiffel Tower. Lies by omission, maybe. His unit's comms had gone dark after the blast, and by the time he surfaced in Walter Reed, the world had moved on without him. But her eyes, those eyes he'd memorized in the dark, now held something worse than grief, betrayal, laced with the old fear they'd both carried like contraband. In Elmwood, love like theirs wasn't just hidden, it was hazardous, the kind that got you labeled deviant before you could even enlist. She slid down the fence, knees buckling, and he closed the gap then, kneeling despite the protest in his joints, close enough to smell the jasmine in her hair, fainter now, mingled with the tang of sweat and sorrow. They said you were Kia, she murmured, fingers twisting the hem of her dress. Your CO called my folks, said you took a sniper round saving your squad. Purple Heart, they sent. And then, the town. They added your name last spring, after the service. I come here every night, Alex. To talk to you. To say I'm sorry. Sorry for what? The question hung unspoken, but he knew. For the night before he shipped out, when whispers from his bunkmate, a redneck sergeant with a grudge, had reached the brass, painting Alex as the queer who compromised the unit. He denied it, of course, swallowed the truth like bitter pills, but the damage was done. Reassigned to the front lines, a quiet punishment that ended in fire and forgetting. He reached for her hand, and she let him take it, her skin cool and trembling. I'm here now, he said, thumb brushing her knuckles, the touch igniting memories of lazy afternoons in the bed of his truck, hands exploring boundaries no Bible-thumping neighbor could map. But Elmwood hadn't changed. The Confederate flag still fluttered from half the porches, and the church steeple loomed like a sentinel over sins it couldn't forgive. Who's they? Who decided I was dead? Jamie's gaze flicked away, toward the lights of the Harlan family home glowing a block over, where his mom rocked on the porch swing, oblivious or broken. Ethan, the golden boy, straight as an arrow, married to his high school sweetheart and climbing the ranks at the mill like it was the Marines. Alex's throat tightened. The last time they'd spoken, Ethan had gripped his shoulder too hard, eyes hard as flint. Don't embarrass us out there, little brother. Keep your head down. Code for keep your secrets buried. Don't let the town see the freak we raised. Now, apparently, Ethan had buried him altogether. Alex pulled Jamie to her feet, resolve hardening like mortar in his veins. Take me home, he told her, before the ghosts decide to finish the job. They walked in silence, her arm looped through his for support, or restraint, he couldn't tell, past the shuttered library where they'd first kissed, tongues tentative as thieves, and the barber shop where old Mr. Tate still muttered about sodomites in the ranks over his morning coffee. The Harlan house squatted at the end of Oak Street, a sagging Victorian with peeling blue paint and a widow's walk that caught the stars like tears. Lights burned in the kitchen window, and as they approached, the screen door banged open. His mom emerged, silhouette etched against the warm glow, a dish towel twisted in her hands. She froze mid-step, just like Jamie had, but her cry was a wail that shattered the quiet. Pure, animal relief crashing into disbelief. Alexander. She crossed the yard in a blur, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of fried chicken and lavender soap, the kind that had patched his scraped knees and broken dreams alike. Up close, the lines around her eyes were deeper, etched by nights she'd spent folding his flag in her mind. My boy. Oh, Lord, my boy. Jamie hung back, wiping her face, but Alex caught the flicker of pain in her eyes, the shared vigil, the casseroles and condolences that had bound them in widowhood. Over his mom's shoulder, he saw movement in the doorway. Ethan, broad-shouldered and scowling, phone halfway to his ear. What the hell is this? His brother growled, stepping into the porch light, face twisting from shock to something darker, like a man caught with his alibi unraveling. Alex disentangled gently, meeting Ethan's stare. This is me alive. Care to explain the tombstone? The air thickened, humid with unspoken accusations. The cicadas chorused the only witness to the fracture widening in the family that had sent him to war hole and prayed for a hero's return, or a convenient end. Jamie slipped her hand into his, a quiet anchor, but Ethan's eyes narrowed on the gesture, the old prejudice flaring like a match in dry grass. We thought you were gone, Alex. For good. The words landed like a gut punch, laced with implication, better dead than out. And in that moment, as his mom sobbed into his chest, Alex realized the real battle wasn't overseas. It was here, clawing its way out of the graves they'd dug for him. The kitchen table groaned under the weight of pot roast and mashed potatoes, a feast conjured from the fridge like a resurrection miracle, but the mood was funeral dirge slow. Mom fussed over Alex, piling his plate high, her hands shaking as she poured sweet tea that sloshed over the rim. Eat, baby. You've gotten so thin. Those army rations, they ain't fit for dogs. Ethan sat across, arms folded, jaw set like he was interrogating a suspect, while Jamie hovered by the sink, drying dishes that didn't need it, her presence a polite fiction in the Harlan household. She'd never been invited to Sunday supper back then. Too risky, with Dad's ghost still haunting the walls, his belt marks a reminder of what happened to boys who brought home the wrong kind of trouble. Alex pushed peas around his plate, appetite lost to the knot in his gut. So, who pulled the trigger on that memorial? You. He directed it at Ethan, voice low to spare Mom's fragile peace. His brother leaned forward, elbows thudding the oak. It wasn't like that. Brass called, said your convoy got hit. No survivors from your Humvee. I ID'd the effects they shipped back. Tags, a letter from you half-burned. That photo of us kids at the lake. The photo, the one where Alex's arm slung casual around Ethan's shoulders, a grin hiding the ache of unshared secrets. They asked if we wanted the name added. Town council voted yes. Hero's honor. Hero. The word tasted like ash. Alex had saved lives that day, dragging his sergeant from the wreck before the secondary blast. But the official report? Clean, sanitized, no mention of the screams or the blood soaking his fatigues, or the way his CO had later pulled him aside. Harlan, you're good in a fight, but keep your personal shit locked down. We don't need distractions. Distractions. Code for the glances he'd stolen at Jamie's brother during leave, or the ache for touch that no pinup could satisfy. And the letters I sent from rehab? The calls that bounced. Ethan shrugged, but his eyes slid away. Glitch in the system, they said. By then, we'd mourned you. Jamie cleared her throat, setting a plate down with a clink. It nearly killed us all, Ethan. The vigil, the prayers, folks still leave flowers. Her voice held an edge, protective, the way she'd always shielded Alex from the town's prying eyes. Ethan shot her a look, the kind that said outsiders stay out. Appreciate the concern, Jamie, but family handles family. The room chilled, Mom's fork pausing midair, her gaze darting between them like she was piecing together a puzzle with missing edges. She'd suspected, once, caught Alex with a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's room tucked under his mattress. But Dad's rages had taught her silence, a survival skill passed down like heirloom china. Alex stood abruptly, chair scraping. I need air. He brushed past Ethan, out to the back porch where the swing creaked in the breeze, fireflies winking like distant artillery. She nodded, leaning her head on his shoulder, the weight familiar, yet heavier now, laced with years of what-ifs. I waited, Alex. 2 years, then 3. But the town talked, and my folks. They pushed me toward normal. Church picnics, setups with nice boys from the mill. Nice boys. Straight-laced, God-fearing, the kind who saw Jamie as a prize, not a partner. Her hand found his, fingers interlacing, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that touch. Their private rebellion. But headlights swept the drive then, gravel popping under tires, and Ethan's truck roared up, brakes squealing. Get inside, Alex muttered, but Jamie held fast. No. Face it now, or it'll fester. Ethan stormed the porch, face thunderous, clutching a manila folder like a weapon. You think you can waltz back and upend everything? Mom's barely holding it, and now this. He thrust the folder at Alex. Inside, discharge papers, stamped dishonorable, dated months after the blast. They finally sent this. Said you went AWOL after rehab, shacked up with some. Whatever in DC. But we knew better. Knew you'd run from what you are. The lie burned, fabricated to match the rumors, a final twist of the knife from a system that chewed up its own. Alex's vision blurred with rage, the folder crumpling in his grip. You leaked it. To the CO, to the town. To make sure if I came back, there'd be nothing left. Ethan's denial died on his lips, replaced by a sneer that cracked into something raw. Guilt, maybe, or the echo of their shared blood. I protected us. From you. The porch light buzzed, casting shadows that danced like accusations, and in the silence that followed, Alex saw the boy he'd idolized, now a man armored in hate he'd forged himself. Jamie stepped between them, voice steady. Enough. He's home, Ethan. Alive. That's the only list that matters. But as his brother retreated into the house, slamming the door like a coffin lid, Alex wondered if home was just another battlefield, where the dead walked and the living bled slower. Dawn crept over Elmwood like a reluctant confessor, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds, the air thick with the promise of another sweltering day. Alex hadn't slept, the guest room cot, his old bed, really, with the faded Rangers poster still tacked above, felt like a straitjacket, every creak reminding him of foxholes half a world away. He'd stared at the ceiling, replaying Ethan's words, the folder's damning ink a tattoo on his brain. Dishonorable. For what? Loving Jamie in the quiet hours, or just being the brother who didn't fit the mold? By sunrise, resolve had hardened. He needed answers, not from family ghosts, but from the source. He slipped out before Mom stirred, boots soft on the dewy grass, heading for the VFW hall on the edge of town. A squat brick bunker where vets swapped war stories over lukewarm beer and avoided the ones that hurt. Jamie met him at the corner, thermos in hand, her hair pulled back in a ponytail that screamed practicality over the wild curls he remembered. "Coffee," she said, pressing it into his palm. "Black, 2 sugars. Some things don't change." Her smile was tentative, a bridge over the chasm of lost time, but her eyes held questions about the scars snaking his forearm, the way he flinched at sudden noises the man war had carved from the boy she'd loved. The hall was quiet, doors unlocked for the early birds nursing hangovers or regrets. Inside, the air hummed with the low drone of an ancient AC unit, walls papered in yellowed clippings. Fallen suns, parades long faded. Behind the bar stood Gus Ramirez, a grizzled Korean vet with a prosthetic leg and a knack for listening without judgment. He'd been the unofficial godfather to Elmwood's queers, slipping Alex his first fake ID at 16, winking as he poured sodas laced with wisdom. "Harlan," Gus grunted, polishing a glass that didn't need it. "Heard rumors you rose from the grave. Buy you a drink." Alex slid onto a stool, Jamie perching beside him, her knee brushing his in silent solidarity. "Make it a truth serum. Why's my name on the memorial, Gus? And don't sugarcoat. Ethan's already tried." The old man paused, rag stilling, his one good eye, milky from a bayonet scar, fixing on Alex with the weight of decades. Official word came from Bragg. "Your CO, that prick Hargrove, filed the report. Harlan, Alexander, Kia in Kandahar province. Effects returned, family notified. Council added the stone quick, small town, big heart for its ghosts." Hargrove. The name landed like a frag grenade. The major who'd ridden Alex hard from day one, eyes lingering too long in the showers, then turning venomous when Alex rebuffed the advances with a polite deflection. Power plays in the ranks, where weakness was weaponized. "But I wasn't Kia," Alex pressed, voice low. "Woke up in a field hospital, medevac to Landstuhl. Discharged honorable 6 months back, paperwork's in my bag." Gus leaned in, breath whiskey sour. Hargrove knew. Pulled strings to bury the update. "Word is, he had a grudge, something about a moral lapse in your file. Your brother called him after, confirmed the story. Said it was mercy, sparing the town the scandal." Scandal. The word coiled like smoke, choking the air. Jamie's hand found Alex's under the bar, squeezing hard enough to bruise. "Ethan wouldn't," she breathed, but doubt shadowed her words. She'd seen the fractures in the Harlan men, the way pride poisoned blood. Gus poured shots, real whiskey this time, and slid them over. "Drink. Then decide if you want the war over here." They clinked glasses, the burn steadying Alex's pulse, but as they stepped back into the sun, a pickup rumbled past, slow enough for the driver. Ricky Tate, bulked up and balding, to leer through the window. "Faggots back from the dead," he hollered, spitting tobacco juice that splattered the curb. Jamie stiffened, but Alex just stared him down, the old fire kindling. "Drive on, Ricky. Ghosts don't haunt the living yet." The truck peeled away, but the echo lingered, a reminder that Elmwood's prejudices weren't buried. They were just waiting for fresh dirt. By noon, word had spread like kudzu. Alex Harlan, the prodigal queer, risen and ready to reckon. Mom called from the house, voice quavering over the line. "Folks are gathering at the church, baby. Prayer circle for your return. Come, please. Show him your flesh and blood." He agreed, more for her than faith, Jamie driving them in her battered Civic, radio tuned low to some country crooner singing of lost loves and dusty roads. The church lot overflowed with pickups and sedans, faces peering from windows like suspects in a lineup. Inside, the pews sagged under the weight of the curious and the condemnatory. Reverend Hale at the pulpit, Bible open to Lazarus, but his tone more fire and brimstone. "Brothers and sisters," Hale boomed as Alex entered, the room falling silent as a held breath. "We gather to witness a miracle, or a test. Alexander Harlan, whom we mourned as fallen, stands before us alive. But let us pray for discernment, for the devil walks in many forms. Whispers rippled, sinner, hero, abomination. Ethan was there, front row, arms crossed, his wife Clara beside him, clutching a hymnal like a shield. Alex took the aisle seat Mom patted empty, Jamie on his other side, her presence a quiet defiance amid the stairs. Hale droned on, eyes boring into Alex like he could exorcise the truth. But it was Mrs. Jenkins, sweet, silver-haired widow of a Vietnam POW, who stood first, shuffling forward with a quilt in her arms, stitched with poppies and his initials. "We made this for your service, boy," she said, draping it over his shoulders, the fabric warm from her lap. "Thought it lost with you. Welcome home." The dam broke then, hugs, backslaps, tears mingling with murmurs of grace. But not from all. In the back, Tate's crew huddled, faces sour as unpicked cotton, and Ethan's glare promised the prodigal's feast would curdle soon. As the circle closed around him in prayer, hands on his head invoking protection from temptations of the flesh, Alex met Jamie's eyes across the throng, seeing the unspoken vow, "We'd burn this town before letting it bury us again." The prayer circle dispersed into potluck chaos, folding tables groaning under deviled eggs and cornbread, the air thick with gossip as viscous as the gravy. Alex navigated it like a minefield, Mom's arm looped through his, steering him toward Aunt Lila's famous pecan pie while deflecting questions with smiles sharper than shrapnel. "Yes, he's home for good. No, the army cleared it up, bureaucracy, you know." But the undercurrent hummed. How queer was the miracle, really? Jamie stuck close, plate balanced with Jell-O salad she poked at but didn't eat, her laugh a shield for the tension coiling in her shoulders. Every time a hand lingered too long on Alex's arm, a blessing from Uncle Ray or a squeeze from Missy Tate that felt like assessment, she'd interject with a story from his deployment days, light and evasive, rewriting their history in broad daylight. Ethan watched from the corner, nursing a styrofoam cup of punch, his conversation with Reverend Hale low and urgent, gestures tight as knotted ropes. Clara hovered nearby, pregnant belly rounding her dress, eyes flicking to Alex with a mix of pity and unease. The sister-in-law who'd once slipped him cookies when Dad was on a bender, now complicit in the family's fortified walls. Alex caught fragments. "That can't just undo it. Town's talking. What about the boy? Boy. Him, reduced to a problem, a stain on the Harlan ledger." Rage simmered low, but he banked it. This wasn't the sandbox, where you could frag your frustrations. Here, fallout lasted generations. As the crowd thinned, Hale cornered him by the vestibule, Bible tucked under one arm like a holstered sidearm. "Son, a word. Your return stirred the pot. Folks need assurance you're the man we sent away, not altered by foreign winds." The implication slithered out, veiled in piety. War-turned boys, made them question, made them stray. Alex's jaw tightened, memories flashing, nights in the barracks, stifling the urge to reach for the medic with the kind eyes, knowing one wrong move meant court-martial or worse. "I'm the same, Reverend. Fought for this flag, this town. If that's not enough, what's the price?" Hale's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Confession. Lay your burdens, and we'll lift the stone from your grave." Jamie appeared then, linking her arm through Alex's, her voice honey-sweet. "He's already confessed to being alive. That's miracle enough for today." They escaped into the parking lot, gravel biting their soles, the sun beating down like judgment. In the Civic, she exhaled long and slow, hands white-knuckled on the wheel. "That man's poison. Always has been. Preached against my cousin Riley coming out. Drove her to Atlanta with nothing but a bus ticket." Riley, the cousin who'd mentored Jamie through her own doubts, teaching her that love wasn't sin but survival. Alex reached over, tracing the freckles on her wrist. "You stood up for me. In there, with all of M watching." She glanced at him, hazel depths swirling with old storms. "Always will." But Ethan's plotting something, saw it in his face. Back at the house, the plot thickened fast. Mom was in the kitchen, humming hymns as she scrubbed counters red, but the phone rang insistent, pulling her away with a worried frown. Ethan burst through the back door minutes later, folder in hand again. This time thicker, stuffed with printouts and a laptop under his arm. "We need to talk. Now." Clara trailed him, wringing her hands, and Alex waved Jamie to stay, sensing the family tribunal. They crowded the living room, dust motes dancing in the slanted light like unsettled spirits, the mantel clock ticking accusations. Ethan slapped the laptop open, screen glowing with a Facebook feed, posts from Elmwood's busybodies, photos of the memorial with captions like, "Our fallen hero R.I.P. Alex Harlan," and comments threads unraveling into speculation. Was he really dead? Or did he desert? One thread, started by Ricky Tate, veered vicious. Heard he got kicked out for being a homo. Better off dead than that, shame on good folk. Alex's stomach lurched. The dishonorable discharge leaked like chum to sharks. You posted this? He demanded, pointing to Ethan's profile, liked and shared without denial. His brother flushed, but held ground. Had to control the narrative. If the truth came out, your lifestyle, the mill's contracts dry up. Dad's legacy gone. Legacy. The word cracked something in Alex, a fault line from boyhood, when Ethan's touchdowns got cheers and his straight A's got shrugs, all overshadowed by the unspoken. The way Dad's eyes hardened when Alex lingered too long watching the neighbor's son mow the lawn. My lifestyle? You mean loving who I love? Jamie's not a phase, Ethan. She's my heart. And you? You buried me to protect your precious normalcy. Clara interjected, voice small. Alex, please. The baby's coming soon. We can't have scandal. Ethan's just scared. Scared? Of what? A brother who refused the script, who came back unbroken by more than bombs. Mom returned then, face ashen, phone clutched like a lifeline. The council's meeting tonight, about the memorial. They want your input. Input. As if his life was a line item to debate. Jamie, silent till now, rose like a storm front. I'll go with you. Show him the dead don't dictate to the living. Ethan scoffed, but Alex nodded, the alliance solidifying. As night fell, fireflies igniting the yard like signal flares, he and Jamie drove to the town hall, her hand on his knee, a steady pulse against the dread. Inside, the chamber buzzed, farmers in flannel, wives with pearl clutches, Reverend Hale presiding like a judge. Mayor Wilkins, a portly relic with a politician's smile, called order. Mr. Harlan, your resurrection poses a dilemma. The stone's paid for. Removing it costs taxpayer dollars, and sentiment runs deep. Sentiment. For a lie. Alex stood, voice steady as rebar. That name's mine, but the story ain't. I served, got blown up, came home. Erasing it now erases me again. Murmurs swelled, Tate's faction jeering from the back. What about his service? Dishonorable, saw it online. Jamie shot up beside him. Lies, from men who fear truth more than death. Alex saved lives, ask any vet. The room fractured then, arguments erupting like small arms fire, Hale pounding his gavel for scripture over sense. In the melee, Alex locked eyes with Ethan, slipped in late, face a mask of conflict. Brother against brother, town against itself, the vote hung on a knife's edge. Hours blurred into verdict. The stone stays, for now, pending verification, but Alex's welcome wore thin, whispers following him like shadows. Outside, under sodium lamps, Jamie pulled him into the azaleas, lips brushing his temple. We fight this together. All of it. The kiss that followed was fierce, not tender, a claim staked in rebel ground. But headlights pierced the dark, Ethan's truck idling at the curb. Get in, he barked. Found something. About Hargrove. Reluctance warred with curiosity. Alex climbed in, Jamie beside him, the cab thick with truce. Ethan drove in silence to the quarry's edge, where they'd skipped stones as kids, now a overlook to the town's twinkling lights. He killed the engine, passing a USB drive. Hacked his email, old army buddy owed me. The report? Falsified. Hargrove covered his own ass. Botched op. Your squad took the heat. But he mentioned you specifically. Problem soldier, moral issue. Deceased status closes it. Moral issue. The piece is slotted. Hargrove's advances rebuffed. Revenge scripted in blood and bureaucracy. Why tell me now? Alex asked, voice raw. Ethan stared at the dashboard, knuckles white. Clara made me see. Burying you buried me too. I'm sorry, Alex. For all of it. The apology hung, fragile as mist, but real enough to crack the ice. Jamie's hand found both theirs, bridging the gulf. Dawn edged the horizon as they drove back, alliances forging in the forge of confession, but Elmwood slumbered unaware, its prejudices stirring like beasts in the underbrush. The days that followed were a tense armistice, Elmwood holding its breath as Alex's verification dragged through VA channels, emails pinging like incoming rounds. He took odd jobs, fixing fences for Jenkins, tutoring math at the library. To keep the wolves from the door, Mom's pried a bomb against the sidelong glances at the Piggly Wiggly. Jamie worked shifts at the diner, her tips dwindling as Tate's crowd boycotted. But she met Alex after closing, stolen hours in the park where magnolias bloomed defiant, their talks delving deep. Her fears of never leaving, his nightmares of sand and screams, the love that had endured like roots in clay. One evening, as thunder rumbled distant, a package arrived. No sender, just a plain box on the porch. Inside, the burned letter from his effects, salvaged and whole, words blurring under his touch. Jamie, if I don't make it, know you're my north. Don't wait, live fierce. But scrawled below, in Hardro's precise script, irrelevant now. Rest in peace. A threat, or a taunt. Alex showed Ethan that night, over beers on the porch, the first since his return without barbs. He's stateside, Ethan said, scrolling contacts. Teaching at a base in Carolina. We confront him, get the real report. Risky, with the dishonorable hanging like a noose. But the alternative, silence, was surrender. They drove north at dawn, Jamie insisting on shotgun, her presence the glue in their fraying brotherhood. The base loomed sterile, guards eyeing the civilian truck like intruders. Hargrove met them in a coffee shop off-post, uniform crisp, face a mask of affable surprise that crumbled under Alex's stare. Harlan, the ghost. Over styrofoam cups, the truth spilled. The op botched by Hargrove's ego. Alex's squad sacrificed. The falsified Kia to bury the failure. And the moral issue, a smokescreen for his own indiscretions, nearly exposed when Alex walked in on him with a subordinate. You were convenient collateral, the major admitted, smug as a cat with cream. Sign this recantation, and I'll fix your papers. Quietly. Ethan bristled, but Alex leaned in, voice steel. Publicly. Or I go to the IG with your emails. Hargrove's bluff folded. By week's end, the honorable discharge landed, the memorial stone chipped away under cover of night. Elmwood buzzed, hero restored, but undercurrents swirled. Tate cornered Alex at the garage, fists balled. You think papers make you clean? We know what you are. The punch flew wild, Alex dodging with war-honed grace, but the threat lingered, a spark in dry tinder. The stone's removal made headlines in the Birmingham paper. Local vet's name erased from memorial. Bureaucratic blunder or bureaucratic miracle? And Elmwood split like faulted earth. Supporters sent cards, baked goods piled on the porch, proud of our boy. But detractors doubled down, flyers tacked to telephone poles. Don't let lies honor sinners. Recall Wilkins. Reverend Hale's sermons sharpened, parables of prodigal sons twisted to warn against false resurrections that corrupt the flock. Alex felt the eyes everywhere, at the feed store, where farmers muttered over seed bags, at the gas station, where pumps clicked like counters of judgment. He armored up, smiles polite but eyes vigilant, the war's lesson etched deep. Trust terrain, not troops. Jamie bore the brunt. Her diner shifts a gauntlet of cold shoulders and accidental spills, plates of hash browns sliding off counters as Tate's wife sneered. Ain't decent, consorting with the dead queer. One night, closing up, she found her tires slashed, the blades worked jagged as slurs carved into the paint. Fag lover. She called Alex, voice steady but threaded with fury, and he arrived with Ethan in tow, the brothers' truce tested in the flood of halogen light. This ends, Ethan growled, surveying the damage, his mill-honed hands itching for retribution. But Alex knelt by the car, tracing the letters, rage a cold forge. Not with fists, with facts. We exposed them. Ricky's the cutter, bet my tag's on it. They staked out Tate's garage next dawn, hidden in the tree lean, coffee going cold as Ricky rolled in, tools clanking. Ethan snapped photos, close-ups of scarred knuckles, a pocket knife matching the gash, evidence for the sheriff, who owed the Harlans a favor from Dad's union days. Confrontation came at high noon, Alex and Jamie walking into Tate's like auditors, Ethan flanking with the weight of brotherhood. Old man Tate blustered behind the counter, oil-stained rag in hand, but Ricky slunk from the bay, bravado wilting under the flash of Ethan's phone. "You got nothing," he spat, but his eyes darted, guilty as Cain. Alex stepped close, voice low thunder. "We got you on camera, Ricky. Assault, vandalism, felonies that stick worse than your daddy's prejudices. Back off, or the law buries you." Tate Sr. swelled, red-faced. "This town's Christian. We don't bow to your kind's agenda." Jamie's laugh was sharp, cutting through the grease. "Christian? Turning the other cheek? Or just the knife?" The standoff teetered, but Ethan's presence, the straight-arrow Harlan, vouching for his kind, tipped it. Ricky crumpled, mumbling surrender, and by evening, apologies flowed, tires replaced on the house, a check for Jamie's lost wages. Victory tasted bittersweet, a salve on wounds still raw, but it forged something stronger in Alex and Jamie. Their love, once hidden, now a banner waved in quiet defiance. Yet peace fractured on a humid Friday, when Clara went into labor early, complications twisting the joy into terror. The hospital in Mobile was an hour's haul, Ethan white-knuckled on the wheel, Alex riding shotgun with a duffel of essentials, Jamie soothing from the back. "Breathe, Clara. Think of the nursery, the little booties." But monitors beeped alarms en route, and by ER doors, doctors swarmed, wheeling her away in a blur of blue scrubs. Hours stretched in the waiting room, vinyl chairs sticking to skin, vending machine coffee a bitter vigil. Ethan paced, prayers muttered under breath, while Alex sat stone still, ghosts of field triage crowding his mind. The medic's hands steady over a gut shot, whispering, "Hold on, Harlan, you got people waiting." Jamie curled against him, her warmth the anchor, but tension hummed. Ethan's glances laced with old resentments, the baby a symbol of the life he built without Alex's complications. Dawn broke gray when the doctor emerged, face grave. "She's stable, but the boy's in NICU, lungs underdeveloped." Ethan staggered, face ashen, collapsing into a chair as the weight crushed him. Alex rose, hand on his shoulder, the same grip Ethan had used on deployment eve, now reversed. "Hey, we fix this. Family does." But Ethan's breakdown peeled layers, the bullying he'd endured as a teen, covering his own insecurities by policing Alex's, the promotion he'd chased to outrun Dad's shadow, only to inherit the hypocrisy. "I hated you for being free," he admitted, voice breaking. "For loving without apology. Thought it'd make me stronger." Jamie knelt before him, eyes soft. "It can. Start now, with truth." The boy, named Samuel, after Grandpa, rallied by week's end, tiny fists waving like flags of truce. Discharge brought them home en masse, the Harlan house a nursery wing, Mom cooing over bottles while Alex rocked the infant, his touch gentle as defusing ordnance. Ethan watched, thawing, and one night, over midnight formula, he cracked open. "Clara wants space. Counseling, maybe divorce. Says I gotta face myself first." Alex nodded, no judgment. "Then face it. I'm here, no more burying." The conversation veered to Jamie, Ethan admitting the jealousy, not of her, but of their ease, the love that bent but didn't break under scrutiny. "You too. You're real. Teach me that." Progress crept, but Elmwood's underbelly stirred. Anonymous calls to the house, breathy threats, dead men don't breed scandals. A brick through Jamie's window, glass shattering like illusions of safety. Alex traced it to Hargrove's network, a disgruntled ex, feeding Tate's fire with Dr. Docs. They gathered evidence, Ethan pulling strings at the mill for alibis. But the climax brewed at the county fair, Elmwood's annual armistice of fried dough and Ferris wheels, where grudges simmered under strings of lights. Alex and Jamie strolled the midway, hands linked openly now. A statement, electric in the humid air. Cotton candy stuck to fingers, laughter bubbling as they dodged kids with ring tosses, but shadows lengthened with Tate's approach, flanked by two goons from the lumber yard, breath sour with beer. "Evening, lovers," Ricky slurred, blocking the path to the tilt-a-whirl. "Town's had enough of your show." Fists clenched, but Alex stepped forward, voice calm. "Walk away, Ricky. We've got witnesses." The goons lunged, But Ethan materialized from the crowd, Clara on his arm, reconciled for the night, shoving between with a mill foreman's bellow, "Back off my family, or you're jobless come Monday." The brawl erupted brief and brutal. Ricky's nose crunching under Ethan's haymaker, Alex dodging a wild swing to pin a goon with a wrestler's hold, Jamie wielding her purse like a mace on the third. Fairgoers gawked, phones flashing, but Sheriff Hale, Reverend's cousin, arrived, sirens wailing, cuffing the trio amid cheers. Reverend Hale himself witnessed, face thunderous, but later, at the station, he cornered Alex. Violence begets violence. Repent, or this town's grace runs dry. Alex met his gaze. Grace? Yours comes cheap. Try forgiveness without strings. The arrests cracked the cabal. Tate's crew spilling on Hargrove's meddling. A federal probe launching on the falsified reports. Elmwood exhaled, divisions mending in the scandal's wake. But for Alex, the real pivot came quieter. A letter from his old medic, forwarded through the VA. Words simple. You saved me that day. Pay it forward. He did, volunteering at the VFW, sharing stories not of glory but grit, drawing out the hidden, a young vet with a rainbow pin, whispering thanks for the space to breathe. Yet twists lingered. Jamie, one crisp fall morning, handed him a positive test, eyes wide with wonder and wariness. Our miracle. But Elmwood. Alex pulled her close, foreheads touching. We'll make it ours. No more hiding. Ethan, overhearing, grinned crooked. Uncle Ethan reporting for duty. Scout's honor. The family wove tighter, prejudices fraying like old rope, but as winter whispered in, a shadow fell. Hargrove, subpoenaed, vanished, suicide note blaming betrayals, body fished from a Carolina river. Closure or cover? Alex pondered it by the memorial's empty slab, Jamie's hand in his, their future a blank stone waiting for carving. Spring unfurled green and forgiving, Elmwood's dogwoods blushing like apologies, but the air held an undercurrent of unfinished business. Alex's honorable discharge cleared the last hurdles, VA benefits flowing, a job offer from the mill under Ethan's wing, but sleep evaded him, nightmares blending Hargrove's sneer with Tate's fists, the river's pull-a-siren's call to unresolved ends. Jamie noticed, her touch a lighthouse in the dark, but even she couldn't pierce the fog entirely. Talk to me, she'd murmur, tracing his scars. We're in this, remember? He would, eventually, words tumbling about the guilt, of surviving when squadmates hadn't, of loving loud in a town that whispered death. Ethan dove into redemption headlong. Therapy sessions squeezed between diaper changes and divorce papers. Clara opting for amicable, co-parenting Samuel with a grace that humbled him. She's stronger than me, he'd admit over backyard barbecues, flipping burgers while Alex chased the toddler, laughter a novel sound in the Harlan yard. One evening, as fireflies sparked, Ethan pulled Alex aside, beer in hand. Found something in Hargrove's files, before he ghosted. Your CO wasn't alone. Brass up the chain signed off on the berry. Political cover for the ops fuck-up. Names, dates, could blow it wide. Alex's pulse quickened. Justice, real and raw, dangled like a grenade pin. We leak it. To who? The press. Jamie, eavesdropping from the porch swing, chimed in. Careful. Elmwood's healing, but poke the bear. Her hand rested on the subtle swell of her belly, a reminder of stakes beyond revenge. They debated late, stars wheeling overhead, deciding on discretion, a tip to the Times anonymously, letting feds unravel the thread. But fate twisted first. Reverend Hale, contrite after the fair fiasco, invited Alex to speak at youth group. Share your testimony, son. Show him survival's a gift. Suspicion warred with opportunity. Alex agreed. Jamie scripting notes laced with hope, not hellfire. The church basement hummed with awkward energy, teens slouched in folding chairs, faces a mix of curiosity and camouflage, the girl with chipped polish hiding a by-flag keychain, the boy whose glances lingered too long on his peers. Hale introduced him stiffly. Alexander Harlan, back from the brink, to remind us God's plans prevail. Alex stood, throat dry, but Jamie's nod from the back steadied him. I went to war expecting bullets, he began, voice gaining ground. Got M, too. But the real hits? Coming home to my own obituary. Turns out, Folks fear difference more than death. Label you queer, and suddenly you're expendable. Gasps rippled, Hale shifting uncomfortably, but the kids leaned in, a girl piping up. My uncle's gay. Lost his job here last year. Said Elmwood eats its own. Stories spilled then, a dam breaking, bullying, isolation, the quiet exits to bigger cities. Alex listened, heart aching with echoes of his youth. And when he spoke of Jamie, of love as lifeline not liability, applause erupted, raw and real. Hale ended it abrupt, but seeds sown, whispers spread, youth group fracturing into underground allies, rainbow stickers blooming on lockers like defiant wildflowers. But backlash brewed swift. Tate, out on bail, rallied the holdouts at a family values rally in the park, megaphone blaring. Harlan's poisoning our kids. He's not hero, he's hazard. Crowds gathered, counter-protesters waving signs. Love wins in Elmwood. Jamie among them, belly prominent under a loose tee. Alex arrived with Ethan, Samuel in a carrier, the brothers a united front. Tension spiked, chants clashing like thunderheads, until a rock sailed, aimed at Alex, clipping Jamie's shoulder. She crumpled, blood blooming on her shirt, and chaos reigned. Ethan charging the thrower, Alex cradling her as sirens wailed. Hospital lights glared sterile, ultrasound wand gliding over her abdomen, the tech's face a mask. Baby's fine, strong heartbeat. But rest, ma'am. Stress ain't kind. Jamie gripped Alex's hand, tears hot. Scared me. He kissed her knuckles, vow silent but iron. Ethan burst in, knuckles bruised, Tate in cuffs again. Sheriff's got him for assault. Rallies disbanded. But Hale waited outside, face lined with regret. I failed you all. My words. They fueled this. Forgive me. Alex paused, then nodded. Earn it. Preach inclusion, reverend. Or step aside. Reconciliation rippled outward. Hale's next sermon, a mea culpa laced with Leviticus reinterpreted. Love as commandment, not curse. Tate's trial loomed, evidence mounting, but a bombshell dropped. Hargrove's suicide staged, body ID'd wrong. The major fled to Mexico, laundered through military contacts. Feds swarmed Elmwood, depositions pulling threads. The falsified report tied to election year cover-ups. Politicians implicated. Alex testified, voice steady, Jamie beside him. Their story the human hook that hooked headlines. Not about me, he told reporters. About every kid scared to come home. Summer swelled, Jamie's due data horizon. And in the quiet before, Alex proposed. Not on bended knee in some scripted spot, but knee-deep in the quarry creek, water cool on skin, her laughter echoing off bluffs. Marry me, James. Make this official, so Elmwood knows we're forever. She tackled him, yes bubbling, rings simple bands bought from the pawn shop, symbols of scavenged joy. Ethan officiated at City Hall, Mom beaming, Samuel gurgling approval, the town hall packed with unlikely allies. Gus from the VFW, the bi girl from youth group as witness. But as contractions hit under a harvest moon, complications shadowed, preterm labor, echoes of Clara's scare. The drive to mobile blurred, Alex's hand on her belly, whispering to the life within. Fight, kid. Like your mom's. Doctor stabilized, but the scare stripped them bare, emerging into parenthood raw and real. A daughter, Lila, after Jamie's cousin, tiny and fierce, latching with warrior hunger. Elmwood welcomed tentatively. Casseroles with notes of blessings on your family. Prejudices ebbing like tide, though scars lingered, reminders to guard the gains. Hargrove's capture came autumnal, extradited and spilling. The conspiracy a web of ambition, Alex's moral issue the scapegoat that snagged them all. Trials televised, Elmwood's name in lights. Not as backwater, but battleground for change. Alex watched from the porch swing, Lila nursing at Jamie's breast, Ethan beside with Samuel on his lap, brothers bonded in the wreckage they'd rebuilt. We made it, Alex murmured. Jamie smiled, I stars. And we're just starting. Yet one final twist uncoiled. A letter from D.C., from the medic, now an advocate, inviting Alex to testify for Don't Ask Repeal's legacy, ensuring no soldier buried alive again. He went, Jamie and Lila in tow, the Capitol's marble halls a far cry from clay roads, his words echoing. War takes enough. Don't let home take more. Returning, Elmwood greeted with a parade, small, but sincere, banners waving, "Welcome home, hero, for real." Winter wrapped Elmwood in a hush of hoarfrost and hearth fires, the kind that turned front porches into confessionals. Neighbors huddled over cocoa, swapping stories of the year's upheavals. Alex and Jamie settled into the rhythm of new parenthood, the little house on Oak, gifted by Mom after Ethan's divorce finalized, a nest of burp cloths and lullabies, Lila's cries a symphony that drowned old echoes. But peace was porous. Late-night feeds brought ghosts. Alex pacing with daughter in arms, whispering tales of the sandbox to her milky gaze, teaching resilience before she could crawl. Jamie watched from the rocker, love fierce as a watchfire. "She's got your fight," she'd say, pulling him down for kisses that tasted of formula and forever. Ethan thrived in the forge of change, promoted at the mill for team building, code for sponsoring the new diversity initiative. His speech is halting but honest. "I learned hate from fear. Don't repeat my mistakes." Clara co-parented seamlessly, Samuel shuttling between homes with a backpack of toys, calling both Mama C and Daddy E without hitch. Family dinners became ritual, the Harlan table groaning under roast and revelations, laughter patching the cracks. Yet undercurrents tugged. Tate's sentencing loomed, a county event drawing protesters on both flanks. Free speech warriors versus equality enforcers. Tensions Alex mediated quietly, testifying again on the vandalism's toll, his words measured. "Hate's a slow poison. Justice is the antidote, not revenge." The courtroom reeked of polished wood and stale anxiety. Tate shackled at the defense table, face gaunt as unpicked fields, his son Ricky beside him, eyes downcast. Judge Harlan, no relation, but the coincidence ironied the air, called order, Alex taking the stand in his Sunday best, Lila napping in Jamie's arms in the gallery. Mr. Tate's actions weren't random, he stated, voice carrying like command. They stemmed from fear of difference, amplified by lies from men in power. Tate's lawyer objected, irrelevant prejudice, but the judge overruled, letting the truth breathe. Ricky testified next, voice cracking, "Dad taught me wrong. Seeing you fight back, it showed me better." Sentence: probation, community service at the VFW. Ironic restitution, polishing the very memorial that had nearly entombed Alex. Post-trial, a olive branch. Tate Sr. cornered Alex outside, hat in hands. "Lost my way, boy. Seeing my kid change. Maybe I can too." Church groups starting a dialogue. Queers and Christians, no punches. Alex searched his eyes, seeing not absolution but aspiration. "Show up. Listen, that's the start." The group met in the basement, awkward as a first dance. Hale moderating, Alex and Jamie sharing stories of hidden kisses and hard-won homes. Tate nodding slow, questions tentative. "How do you square it with the book?" Jamie's answer gentle. "Same as you. Love thy neighbor, even if he's holding your hand." But Elmwood's healing hit hurdles when federal trials hit prime time. Hargrove's Web unraveling generals and aides. Headlines screaming, "Military cover-up. Gay vet's death, Hyde scandal." Protests flared outside the courthouse. Counter-demonstrators chanting slurs that filtered back to town via YouTube, reigniting embers. Anonymous emails flooded Alex's inbox. "Traitor, should have stayed dead." And one night, brakes tampered on Ethan's truck, a near miss on the interstate that left Samuel screaming in his car seat. Not over. Ethan fumed at the ER, stitches closing a gash on his brow. Someone's tying loose ends. Alex's gut twisted. Hargrove's accomplices, cornered rats lashing out. Investigation pointed to a low-level clerk, bitter over demotion, funneling threats through proxies. Feds swooped, but the scare etched deeper. Alex installing cameras, Jamie learning self-defense at the gym, punches thrown at pads with Lila strapped to her chest, a warrior mama in the making. "No one's touching our girl," she'd grunt, sweat slick and fierce. Amid the vigilance, joy flickered. Lila's first tooth, a gummy grin that melted tensions. Family photos framed on the mantle. Alex, Jamie, Ethan, Clara, kids in a tumble. Testament to mended holes. Spring stirred scandals anew when Reverend Hale announced his retirement. Pulpit passing to a young associate, Pastor Lee, a woman, out as lesbian. Her call to ministry a quiet thunderclap. Backlash brewed. Petitions circulating to block her ordination. Tate's old crew leading the charge. Alex backed her publicly. Op-ed in the local rag. Elmwood's ready for grace without gates. Let her preach. Jamie organized a support rally. Rainbow flags fluttering beside crosses. Voices uniting in song. Amazing Grace, reimagined as anthem for the marginalized. Lee preached her first sermon to a packed house. Words weaving scripture with stories of her wife's hand in hers through chemo, tears flowing free. Love is the strongest command, she said, and it's for all of us. Ethan's arc deepened there, confessing to the group his own fluidity, crushes on boys in youth, buried under bravado. Thought it made me weak, he admitted, voice thick. Alex clapped his shoulder. Nah, makes you human. The dialogue bloomed, offshoots in schools, anti-bullying workshops where that by girl from youth group spoke, her keychain now a badge. Alex mentored, sharing war's lessons on unit cohesion. Difference isn't division, it's strength. Yet a personal quake hit. Jamie's folks, long estranged after her phase with Alex, surfaced with a letter, plane tickets to visit in Florida, grandbaby photos demanded. Trepidation shadowed the flight, palm trees swaying like uncertain welcomes, but her dad hugged first, gruff, saw the news. Proud of you, kid, for fighting. Mom teared up over Lila, stories spilling of their own regrets, a cousin's suicide hushed for family honor. Forgiveness flowed halting, but real, bridges rebuilt over late-night talks of what-ifs and why-nots. Returning, Boyd, they hosted a block party. Oak Street alight with lanterns, potlucks mingling mill workers and vets, Gus spinning tales on the grill. Ethan danced with Samuel, Clara laughing beside, while Alex and Jamie swayed slow to an old ballad, Lila between them. This is home, he whispered. She nodded, eyes shining. Ours to keep. But summer solstice brought storm. A leaked audio from Hargrove's cell, ranting conspiracies. Harlan's a plant, deep state queer agenda. Stirring online militias, doxing Alex's address. Threats escalated. Burned effigy on the lawn. Tires screeching midnight, drives bice. Feds up protection, but fear nod. Jamie's hand straying to a baseball bat by the bed. We leave, she asked one dawn, Lila fussing in the crib. Alex waited, heart heavy. Not yet. Fight's not done. The climax crested at a town hall forum. Lee's idea, Elmwood United, addressing the leaks head-on. Stage shared with skeptics. Alex spoke unflinching. Hate hides in shadows. Shine light. See, we're all just trying to live. A heckler lunged, but Ethan blocked, the room erupting in cheers as security hauled him out. Lee closed with prayer. For courage, for kin. Applause thundered, divisions dissolving in the din. Post-forum, quiet settled. Threats tapering as trials convicted the clerk. Hargrove's venom neutralized. Alex exhaled, planting a garden with Jamie. Tomatoes and zinnias, symbols of nurture amid thorns. Lila toddled first steps there, chubby hands in dirt, family circling in wonder. To more. Ethan toasted at supper, glasses clinking. And in the hush of night, Alex held Jamie close, their love the unshakable ground. Autumn leaves carpeted Elmwood in crimson and gold, a fleeting mercy before winter's bite, mirroring the tentative thaw in the town's soul. Alex's advocacy swelled beyond borders, invites to podcasts, panels in Atlanta, his story a beacon for vets navigating the post-Didi minefield, Jamie video calling with Lila's waves during his overnights. Tell him we're waiting, she'd tease, but pride laced her voice, their partnership a tandem engine. Ethan channeled his fire into labor reforms, union drives welcoming LGBTQ plus voices, his speeches quoting Alex, strengthen the squad, not the straight line. Clara bloomed solo, boutique opening in the old diner space, vintage finds and coffee, a haven where whispers turned to welcomes. But fractures festered subtle. At the VFW, old-timers grumbled over woke wars, Gus mediating with gruff wisdom, pulling Alex aside one night. They'll come around, or fade. You keep shining, kid. Advice heeded, but a letter from the VA twisted the knife. Back pay clawed back for administrative errors, Hargrove's ghost deducting from the grave. Bureaucracy's revenge, they called it, but it stung, bills piling as Jamie's maternity leave stretched. Ethan fronted the gap. No questions, but pride pricked. Alex moonlighting bar shifts, sleeves rolled over ink that read resurrected. Lila's first birthday dawned crisp, backyard festooned with balloons bobbing like escaped dreams, kin crowding the yard. Mom with pie, Clara with cake, even Tate's family tentative on the fringes, Ricky toting a gift bag shy as a truce flag. Laughter rang as Lila smeared frosting, chubby fists waving, but mid-song, a courier arrived. Envelope sealed, from D.C. Inside, congressional medal, posthumous no more, ribbon gleaming with overdue honor. Alex pinned it to his shirt, chest tight, Jamie's kiss salt and sweet. You earned it, all of it. The ceremony came swift, Elmwood Square dressed in flags, brass band wheezing stars and stripes, dignitaries mingling with locals under a sky bruised with promise. Mayor Wilkins pinned the medal, speech stumbling. Alexander Harlan didn't just survive war. He survived us. Applause swelled, but Alex's words cut deeper. This ain't mine alone. For every queer kid shipped off to prove their worth, every family that mourned lies. This is yours. Jamie stood tall beside, Lilo on hip, their tableau a living rebuke to the old guard. Yet glory's afterglow dimmed when Pastor Lee faced her trial by fire, denominational review board descending, grilling her on lifestyle compatibility, her wife barred from the parsonage overnight. Protests camped the church lawn, supporters in tents, singing hymns hybrid with pride anthems. Alex joining vigils, harmonica pulled from his pack, tunes mournful as Mississippi mud. They'll break her, Jamie fretted, passing Coco through picket lines. But Lee held, sermons streaming live, her voice a clarion. If love disqualifies me, what gospel do we preach? The board relented, ordination affirmed, but scars scored, whispers of schism, a splinter faction forming under Hale's shadow. Ethan's front row seat to the fray cracked his armor further. Therapy unearthed buried longings, a tentative date with a mill coworker, man, gentle-eyed, sharing beers and baseball. Not jumping labels, he confided to Alex over engine oil in the garage. Just exploring. Alex grinned, wrench pausing. Good. World's big enough. Support solidified their bond. Brothers now conspirators in vulnerability. Ethan crashing movie nights with his beau, awkward laughs easing into ease. Winter solstice brought bounty and bite. Lila's words bubbling. Dada, Mama J, pointing at stars with pudgy awe. But a storm surge from the Gulf flooded lowlands. Elmwood's creek swelling monstrous, homes awash. Alex waded sandbags with neighbors, Tate beside him hauling burlap. Curses shared over mud-caked boots. Didn't think I'd see you in the muck, Tate grunted. Alex clapped his back. Flood don't discriminate. Neither should we. The deluge bonded them brute. Post-storm barbecues steaming with gratitude. Prejudices washed thinner. Yet a venomous vine crept. Online forum unearthed. Elmwood truthers, peddling conspiracies. Alex a crisis actor, his death faked for gay agenda funding. Doxes followed, Lila's daycare photos lifted, Jamie's shift stalked. Fear coiled tight, sleep fractured, but Alex countered with transparency. A blog, Ghost in the Machine, chronicling the real, nightmares, nappy changes, the grind of grace. Followers flocked, vets venting, allies amplifying, turning poison to platform. Climax brewed in spring, a national conference in D.C. LGBTQ plus vets, Alex keynoting, Jamie and Lila flying economy, wide-eyed at monuments. Big tree, Lila squealed at the mall, chasing pigeons while Alex rehearsed in hotel mirrors. Words waited. We fought for freedom abroad. Claim it here. The hall pulsed electric, faces a mosaic of fatigues and flags, his speech landing like artillery. Cheers, tears, a standing ovation that shook the rafters. Post-talk, a general approached, hand extended. Your testimony flipped the script on those reports. Promotions pending. For you, if you want back in. Temptation tugged. Rank. Purpose. The structure he'd mourned. But Jamie's gaze grounded him. Desk or Delta, we're team. He declined, opting civilian. VA counselor in Elmwood, helping heroes home. Returning, the town faded. A drive-in screening of Top Gun. Ironic. popcorn flying as jets roared. But under stars, a call shattered. Ethan's beau, carjacked en route to a union meet, beaten bad, motive unclear, but truther tags on his bumper. Ethan raged at the hospital, fists bloody on vending machines. They touched him because of me. Hunt honed fierce, Alex pulling Fed strings, Jamie rallying support. Fundraisers at Clara's boutique, proceeds for recovery. Clues led to a truther cell, arrested mid-plot, pipe bombs for the VFW. Trials layered, Elmwood's name cleansed in coverage. From hate to hope, a town's reckoning. Ethan's man healed slow, but their bond deepened. Wedding small in the church, Lee officiating, Alex best man. To loves that last. Summer solstice circled back, Lila too now, terrorizing tadpoles in the creek, family picnics sprawling. Tate hosted one, grill smoking, apologies grilled in. Wrong about you, Harlan. About us. Handshake sealed it, fragile but forward. As dusk fell, fireflies dancing, Alex pulled Jamie to the swing, Lila dozing between. 10 years from now, he mused. She smiled, head on shoulder. Still us. Still fighting. The future stretched, uncharted but unafraid. The years unspooled like a well-worn reel, Elmwood evolving in fits and starts, a town stitched from scars into something sturdier, its pulse quickening with transplants. Young families fleeing city churn, artists chasing cheap clay for pottery wheels. Alex's counseling practice burgeoned in a converted barn behind the house, sessions with vets unpacking rucksacks of regret, the sergeant grappling with his trans son's enlistment, the widow unraveling her husband's coded letters home. You listen like you get it, they'd say, and he did. Each story a mirror to his own resurrection, empathy the tool that tilled toughest soil. Jamie channeled her fire into education, subbing at the high school, then landing a full-time gig teaching lit. Syllabi laced with Baldwin and Wolfe, discussions daring as unlocked closets. Lila thrived in her orbit, pigtails flying at recess, questions precocious. Why'd they put your name on the dead list, Daddy? Alex knelt to her level, voice soft. Fear makes monsters. Love slays em. Ethan, settled with his partner Mark, wedding bands glinting as they coached Little League, piped up, and uncles teach home runs. Samuel, lanky at 8, rolled eyes but grinned, the kids' club a buffer against old ghosts. Mom aged gracefully, quilting circle now a queer inclusive stitch and bitch, needles flying as tales tumbled. Back in my day, we hid in hymns. Clara's boutique expanded, online arms shipping Southern Soul, apparel, tees silkscreened with bless your heart, but love wins. Tate's redemption rooted deep, his garage sponsoring pride floats. Ricky apprenticed under Ethan, tattoos covering old hate marks. Pastor Lee mothered the flock with her wife, adoption papers fresh for twins, sermons a symphony of inclusion that drew doubters turned devotees. But echoes lingered, anniversaries sharpening edges. The blast state, Alex waking sweat-soaked, Jamie's arms his harbor. They'd drive to the quarry then, stones skipping silver, talking twists, the what-if of Hargrove's bullet finding Mark, or Tate's knife cutting deeper. Would have fought harder, she'd vow, hand on his. Twists personal too. Lila's first crush, a classmate with braids and boldness, prompting park bench chats on labels loose as summer dresses. Love who lights you up, Alex advised, Ethan's nod sage. Just don't skip stones alone. National ripples returned waves. Alex's book, listed among the dead, ghosted by a DC scribe but voiced raw, bestseller in memoirs, proceeds funding scholarships for queer vets' kids. Tours pulled him Gulfward, Jamie and Lila tagging for coastal jaunts, beaches where Lila built sand forts against tides, Jamie sketching waves with charcoal stubs. Back home, controversies cropped, school board battles over book bans, Alex testifying fierce, censor stories, use censor souls. Wins stacked, losses schooled, Elmwood's library stocking Giovanni's room, proud on shelves. Ethan's milestone hit mid-decade, mayoral run, platform, unity over uniforms, Mark managing the yard signs. Campaign trail bonded brothers anew, stump speeches co-delivered, Alex's endorsement gold. He buried me once. Now he builds bridges. Victory night, confetti in the square, Lila on shoulders cheering, Jamie's kiss champagne suite. Mayor Harlan's first act. Pride Month proclamation, flags rainbowing poles, festival sprawling with food trucks and fiddles. Yet a shadow quested. Anonymous donor to the practice. Checks unsigned, but notes laced venom. For the fraud who fooled us all. Feds traced to a holdout general, Hargrove's mentor, bitter in retirement. Confrontation in a Virginia diner. Alex solo, voice level. Your war's over. Let the living live. The man deflated, confession spilling. Regret for the cover. A will amending to fund Lila's college. Closure's gift, bittersweet. Lila's teen years tumbled turbulent. Braces glinting as she debated club prez. Coming out by at 15 with a flag pin and family feast. No shocks, just hugs and proud kiddo. Her first heartbreak. Ghosted text from a summer fling. Alex consoled with ice cream and Iraq yarns. Rejections recon, scout ahead. Jamie added, and danced through it. Ethan and Mark hosted Uncle University, grilling burgers while schooling on safe spaces. Elmwood's Arc crested communal, annual Resurrection Fest. Alex's brainchild, carnival with vet booths, queer artists, panels on prejudice's price. Headliners rotated. Lee preaching, Tate emceeing. But the hook. Lantern launch at dusk. Paper glows inscribed with let-go messages, floating heavenward like released regrets. One year, Lila's read for the boy I was scared to be. Alex's tears silent pride. Personal pinnacles peaked. Vow renewal for Alex and Jamie. 10th anniversary under magnolias. Lee officiating, kids flower strewing. Vows updated. Through lists and lies, bombs and biases, I choose you. Rings exchanged, simple gold warmed by wear. Ethan toasted, to loves that rewrite endings. Decades dusk brought reflection. Alex, grayer at temples, surveying the mantle, metal beside baby teeth. Lila's art framing family shots. Jamie, lines laughter etched, curled beside. Regrets? He pondered, hand in hers. None. Fought good, loved better. Ethan dropped by, Mayor's pin polished, Samuel and Lila plotting pranks in the yard. Town's yours now, Alex said. Keep it growing. As snow dusted first, a call from D.C. Ambassador post, quiet diplomacy for vet affairs. Tempting, but roots held. Stay, Jamie whispered. He did, legacy local. Counseling center renamed Harlan Hope. Doors open to all haunted by home fronts. Final twist, gentle. Hargrove's diary, mailed posthumous. Suicide real, remorse scrawled. Harlan, forgive the man who couldn't. Alex burned it in the fire pit, ashes to wind. Forgiven. Free. Elmwood slumbered under stars. Alex on the porch swing. Jamie's head on shoulder. Lila's laughter distant. From dead list to living legend. The story scripted in scars and sunrises. Love's long victory. Prejudice's slow defeat. And in the quiet, he knew. The war won. The peace hard-earned. The heart home.